Fabled Heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The scent of aged wood and beeswax candles clung to the confessional booth like a second skin, transporting me to a place where time stood still. I traced the grooves of the carved lattice between us, my fingers trembling as the weight of my sins pressed against my ribs like a physical force. The air was heavy with the scent of old books and the faint hint of incense, a reminder of the countless prayers that had been whispered within these walls. Across the shadowed divide, the priest's silhouette was a study in stillness, broad shoulders framed by the crimson stole of absolution, his voice a gravelled murmur that vibrated through my bones like a gentle hum. "Speak, child," he said, though I was no child. Neither was he, despite the vows that bound him. His scent, bergamot and something smokier, darker, drifted through the partition, incongruous with the sterile holiness of St. Michael's. It was a scent that spoke of secrets and hidden truths, of a life lived beyond the confines of the church. "I've killed someone," I whispered, the words spilling out of me like blood from a wound. The admission hung in the air like a poisoned mist, threatening to consume me whole. A beat of silence. Then softer how the story spilled out, the man who'd cornered me in an alley, the glint of a knife, the surge of heat in my palms that left him a smoldering husk. I didn't mean to, I lied, because part of me had reveled in it, in the power that crackled beneath my skin, wild and hungry. It was a power that I couldn't understand, a power that both thrilled and terrified me. His breath hitched, not in horror, in recognition. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized that he understood me, that he knew what it was like to be consumed by a power that was both beautiful and terrifying. Father Cale visited me that night. Not in dreams, but in the flesh, his cassock traded for black jeans and a leather jacket that made him look more like a fallen angel than a servant of God. He stood in the rain outside my apartment, water sluicing down the sharp planes of his face, his eyes gleaming with a fire that seemed to burn brighter with every passing moment. "You're like me," he said, his voice low and husky, sending shivers down my spine. Lightning split the sky as he lifted his hand, and blue flames danced across his fingertips, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The church's best-kept secret wasn't the button in the confessional, the one that could erase a sinner with a single touch. It was the order of sanctified flame, priests bred to wield divine fire, tasked with eliminating threats too dangerous to live. "You were supposed to kill me today," I said, backing toward the dim glow of my kitchen, my heart pounding in my chest. He followed, his gaze scorching, his eyes burning with a fire that seemed to grow hotter with every passing moment. "I couldn't," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The air between us thickened, heavy with tension, as his power called to mine, a coaxing pull that made my blood sing. When his thumb brushed my wrist, sparks erupted, searing a path up my arm, leaving me breathless and wanting more. "Why?" My voice wavered, barely audible over the sound of my own heartbeat. His lips grazed my ear, sending shivers down my spine. "Because when you burn beautifully," he whispered, his breath hot against my skin. The Archbishop discovered his disobedience. I awoke to the barrel of a blessed revolver pressed to my temple, the cold metal a blasphemy against my fire. "The button or the bullet?" the Archbishop sneered, his voice dripping with malice. "Choose." Cale stepped from the shadows, his eyes twin infernos, his face set in a determined expression. "There's a third option," he said, his voice low and deadly. He lunged not at the Archbishop, but at me. His mouth crashed against mine, and for one breathless moment our flames merged, golden and blue twisting into an incandescent helix. It was a kiss that burned away all reason, all sense, leaving only the pure, unadulterated thrill of the moment. Then he tore away, shoved me behind him, and pressed his palm to the Archbishop's chest. "Run!" Cale growled at me, even as the older man's gun swung toward him. A shot rang out and Cale fell, his body crumpling to the ground, and I realized too late that the button had never been meant for my heart. It was meant for his, a secret that only he had known. I felt a wave of grief wash over me, a sense of loss that seemed to consume me whole. I had never felt such a deep connection with anyone before, and now he was gone, taken from me by the very people who were supposed to protect us. I knew that I had to get out of there to escape the Archbishop and his minions, but my feet seemed rooted to the spot, unable to move, unable to leave Cale behind. The sound of footsteps echoed through the hallway, growing louder with every passing moment. I knew that I had to act, to do something, or risk being caught in silence forever. With a surge of adrenaline, I turned and ran, the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty halls, a reminder that I was still alive, still burning, still fighting.